Webc here, and we are now live at the Model Rocketeer, Webc Official, Webc on Facebook, and Webc Official on Twitter. And when the Model Rocketeer gets in, he'll have a couple other places we'll be live on. And soon, our co-host Bit Cloudwize will also be doing some of that stuff. So let's get. All right, and we're back. And tonight we're going to be watching Hellier episode 2. If you haven't seen the first episode with us, you can go back. In every episode, I will post links below that will be there for you guys to go back and watch episode 1, 2, and so on and so forth as we go through the series. So come along with us as we watch Hellier. Oh, commercials.
Son of a beep.
Right? I know.
Somebody needs anyways.
So
Well, if it wasn't
sharing,
for if
but
it
it's
wasn't
sharing
for,
in a
like,
way I don't want it to. So we're gonna have to back out of this real quick. Hold on. We will fix
well, if it
this.
isn't son of a witch doctor
I know, right?
and daughter of a lawyer.
Ooh, daughter of a lawyer.
Ooh, Sue's in town.
Loading phone screen. Okay, now it's doing what I want it to do.
Yay!
And the Model Rocketeer
Everybody
is here.
gets a
Hey,
gold
everybody.
star.
Welcome to Model Rocketeer to the late night show where he's supposed to be the co-host. How's it going, buddy? You having a good day?
Good, guys. What's up?
Awesome.
I think my screen froze. I'll be back if I get kicked out. I'm coming.
All right.
Well, if it isn't baby, well, there was Babyface Malone.
Okay. Can you guys hear it?
Yeah, but I cannot see it. And I see there's a light in the background.
Oh, yeah, that ain't going to be a problem anymore. Don't worry about me.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, you're back here picking my nose and everything. Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Friends let friends pick.
Oh, wow. Well, here we go.
Basically, it's when these two events correspond in a way that seems
Yeah.
highly improbable, highly unlikely, but also.
All right, so just a quick recap, right? Let's do a quick recap. We're watching this TV show or this episeries called Hellier, and so far what we know is there's this dude named Terry Wrist, and he is directing this group via some pawns of his own into Kentucky by the caves, and they're talking about UFOs and goblins, and that's where we are right now in the show. So we're going into episode 2. What are you guys' take on the first episode, just for a recap for the guys out there watching and stuff?
Well,
I think it's riveting.
Yeah, it is definitely intriguing by none other standings.
All right.
Just the way the story unfolds and everything is very good writing on the events and everything.
Definitely. And when I found it, I was definitely stoked by it when I found it. So here we go.
Stumped in a good way, or stumped like as in you were stumped?
Stoked like stoking the fire, like whoo.
Oh, I thought you said stumped. I was like, what?
No. Stoked.
You stumped? Oh, that's unusual.
No. Definitely not. So here we go. We're gonna go ahead and start it.
It relates to some aspect of their life.
And we'll just all right. It says, due to the ongoing nature of the case, certain information must remain censored to protect the privacy of the individuals involved and the integrity of any future correspondence and further research. That's what's being said.
All right. But yeah, I was very impressed with the information that they brought forth and the delivery of this information. So they set the scene, they give us, the details, and then they set up on this adventure, and it is unfolded just like any other, cryptic, mystery about, these strange things that we've got going on that have been sightings for a long time. So it's really exciting to see that we've got people in the new age, taking up the gauntlet to, get these answers and find out what's going on, because we live in a very amazing world.
That I would have to agree on by far, because there are so many things that we still are learning to this day.
Almost by some other kind of consciousness.
Right.
Now, coincidence happen for sure, but this is kind of in the realm of almost deja vu, where it seems like there's something more to it. Particularly when the synchronicities drop. There's one after another, in a way that feels something else is going on, something bigger. That's what started this game, and that's what played this throughout. In order to trace the synchronicity back for me, we have to go back to the spring of 2016. I was finishing up my work at the Stanley Hotel. I was a resident paranormal investigator there. I was a web series called Spirits in Stanley. And the final public paranormal event that they hosted in April was the first time that I met Greg and Kirk, who run the Traveling Museum of Paranormal and Occult, a popular blog website called Week in Weird. And they're doing a ton of very novel, very interesting paranormal experiments in the broader field in general. We became instant friends. We kept in touch. A couple months later, in June, Dana posted a blog entry on Week in Weird about the top 5 indie paranormal projects people should check out. And she was very kind enough to include Spirits in Stanley on the list. As I scrolled through the article, I noticed another post about the Euphomet podcast that Jim Perry puts on. In the article, there was an embedded episode, and that one that they chose was an interview with Greg. It's about an hour-long interview. It was all about this very bizarre, strange case of these Kentucky goblins and these weird emails that Greg had gotten starting in about 2012. I didn't get a chance to listen to it that June, but I returned to it in September, and I got immediately enthralled in the story.
Take us back to after you received that second message from David. He describes events that have pretty much left his family in terror, small, hairless entities, and someone who calls himself Brainless. That was a good story, but I wasn't totally on board. I mean, anyone can write a great story. Was this ringing a bell with Kentucky? Was there evidence that there were mines that this was the only thing that it seemed to have anything in common with? Was there were some themes that related to the Hopkinsville Goblins case that happened back in 1955. And in 1955, this family in this farmhouse was besieged by these tiny creatures that they thought were from outer space.
I got about halfway through the episode, paused it, went over to Twitter, and I blasted it out.
So, your commercials.
Definitely interesting.
A couple minutes later, Greg hit me back.
Definitely what?
Interesting.
And then I noticed their Week in Weird account posted an article about the same Kentucky Goblins case. Now, thinking that Greg and Dana had just kind of used that as an opportunity to plug their page and their website, because I was talking about it already, I kind of hit him back with a post and said, look, I see what you did there, or something along those lines. Greg writes back and he says, that wasn't us who posted that. What he told me was that it was a random auto post that draws from the entire archive of different Week in Weird articles and posts throughout the day. And further, there were 1,700 articles on Week in Weird that it could have drawn from, and there's only 2 about this Kentucky Goblins case. Greg had recorded that entire interview 6 months beforehand, and it was random that I even clicked on the blog and started listening to the podcast at the time, and equally random that we had this 1 in almost 900 chance that their account posts, let alone at the time that it did, right in the middle of me listening to it. It felt extremely unlikely, and it felt very pointed, particularly as I listened to the end of the episode and I realized this was a cliffhanger. There was more work to be done, and not only did I want to be a part of it, I felt supernaturally called to be a part of it by this synchronicity. And in the 2 weeks that followed, it was a synchronicity storm. There was just one after another, all tangentially relating to this Kentucky Cowboys case. So here we are, almost a year to the date after that series of synchronicities that called me to this case. And we're going out to Kentucky. And we're going to do our best to try to figure out what was going on.
All right. So they're actually going to go out there.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna disappear for a moment because I gotta go try to find my cat. My cat got out.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. Good luck, bro.
Riveting. Cat got out. Sad day. Little fucker. Get back where you belong.
I heard that.
Oh, what?
I don't know, man.
Oh, all these parts. I'm just looking at all these parts while we're waiting.
Never mind. I'm going to be going.
What?
I was going to say, quit parting out your brain.
Oh, I'm not parting out my brain. I'm looking at base parts. I got a base diorama I'm working on finishing it up.
That's what they all say, and then they find a never mind in their mailbox.
Oh, I'm gonna never mind in my mailbox.
Yeah, that's going to be your new backup brain.
Mm-hmm. Cincinnati, Ohio.
When I say that I've investigated the paranormal for like 20 years, I typically just don't even count the first 5 because it was all kind of stuff based on things that I'd read or things that might have been on television, that type of thing. Watched a lot of like the scariest places and stuff like that. Kind of based everything that we've done off of that. But eventually, the longer that we were in this, Dan and I even met because we ran rival ghost hunting websites as kids. And eventually we got together and we started trying to think of things a little bit differently. So we come from a pretty hardcore ghost hunting background. That was really what we started out as. And then eventually we started to look into things like Bigfoot, or we'd start to look into things like UFO sightings. And then we start to get into people who believed there was some kind of weird unifying theory that mixed all this stuff together. And so that's where we've stayed. We really strongly believe that if more paranormal researchers would communicate with each other from different communities, like ghost hunters don't typically talk to Bigfoot hunters, and Bigfoot hunters don't really talk to UFO investigators. But if they did, they'd notice that there's a lot of weird crossover there. So as far as we're concerned, there's really nothing that's too weird. In fact, the weirder, the better.
I think that, initially it started off almost as a joke. Like our first kind of, adventure away from ghosts was Bigfoot. And it was sort of as a joke, again, like by accident. We went out to have fun with a guy that we thought was probably crazy. And he was crazy, but he also, brought us to places where we were experiencing legitimate activity.
Top 5 sports cards from Whatnot. Trae Young reigning on him. Clayton Kershaw on him.
He was crazy, but he also, brought us to places where we were experiencing legitimate activity.
You got 5 rounds in here. You only take the last one for yourself. Okay.
It kind of felt the same way that it did when we both first started ghost hunting, that the first few times that you experience something that you legitimately can't explain, it fuels your curiosity. It continues to push you forward.
I think it tends to happen that the longer somebody researches this type of stuff and the more broad they decide to cast their net, the more they realize things are so much stranger on an even deeper level. So, I mean, it's anything from, are we causing hauntings with our mind to, is Bigfoot just the ghost of a Neanderthalic man? Stuff like that. The longer you do it, the more you start to see this stuff that never quite adds up in popular theory. But when you start researching a little bit deeper, you start to, see people like John Keel, who believed in window areas and all kinds of stuff. And then you start to believe things like, maybe UFOs aren't coming from outer space. Maybe they're coming from here, from another type of dimension. And that's the type of stuff that it's really hard to tell people and get them to swallow, because it's hard enough to tell them that there's a giant hairy creature in the woods, or that there's, aliens coming and abducting people and performing experiments on cows and stuff like that. It all just comes from continuing to follow these rabbit holes, and it just gets weirder and weirder the longer you're in it. I think when you start to invite that type of weird thinking into your life,
1 or 2?
That type of stuff just has a habit
of 2.
finding them.
It's not the same as the last one.
Because you're paying more attention to it.
No?
And you're trying to look for those.
It's showing some of the same.
Or if it's because
it's the same shit.
Let's go.
It looks like they're showing us a lot of the same info. Hold on.
I'm pretty sure this is the same video.
Because it is. That's what I was like. Okay, so that was our little recap. Okay, everybody? That's the little recap we got. Now we're on episode 2. Ready?
So it says the broadcast wizard.
Hey.
Easy there, Peter Gallery.
I don't use that name no more.
I'm only giving you shit, bro.
I just like my brain clicked. I'm like, this dude was just talking about this in the last episode.
Really started coming together. Realized that we really needed a team to sort of tackle this project.
It's all good in the hood.
Especially as a filmmaker, somebody who wanted to document the project.
Well,
I
people.
needed some backup. And Connor from the Stanley Hotel, Connor Randall, is one of my best friends. He's really brilliant-minded in paranormal, does tons of great research. And basically, I wanted to be able to bring him alongside as my right-hand man to be able to engage in this case and the research of the case.
He
and
eats
go along and
cheeses.
support the project.
Party mix.
From that perspective, and having that ability that I
And they
Wow.
blanked it out. They blanked it out. Can't you see it? I can see it. I know what it is.
Right.
Then I wanted to reach out to.
Wow, bro. Wow.
He's got some cool shit in the back of him. I'm gonna dissect the whole fucking video, bro. Look at that old ass microphone they're choosing to use.
Wow, look at that apple. That thing's old.
I know.
So that team right there. I mean,
It's so
ultimately there was 5 of
2014.
us out there trekking around.
More like
That became
2013.
a very core team.
Because that 365
Carl
days
is one of my
makes a
best
difference.
friends. We worked together for many years on various
For Apple, it
cases.
does, man. They come out with a
Yeah,
new thing
it
every
does.
year.
Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado.
They put out a new
Two
computer
out of
every
three
year.
resident paranormal investigators along with
Yeah,
Micheal
Apple's thing is a new
We
computer, new
know each
phone,
other.
new tablet.
We
new
know our different
New
watch.
everything.
styles very well.
Every year you
and
get a new
we've spent
version.
so many hundreds of hours
So that's
in dark
10 grand you got to
places
spend every
investigating
year
each
just
other
to spend it again the
we
next
know
year
the
on
methods
Apple stuff.
that work best for us.
Not to mention all the apps that you have to pay for these days.
Beast Nerf
I know, right?
It has a retractable stock
And this
with
guy
rechargeable
right
batteries,
here,
and
I
you can
tell
put
you,
on
he
semi-fi
fought.
with shits
I
one
like
at a
that guy, Mr. Beast. He's a
Mr.
cool
Beast.
guy.
It is a fantastic asset.
Shout out
because
Mr.
he
Beast.
has a really great eye, not only for a good shot.
They got some pretty
for
cool airsoft
cinematic
guns these days.
details, but for
They do. My son's got a
really
bunch of
paying
Nerf
close
guns that
attention
are
to
pretty
what's
kick
going on.
ass.
Carl's a keen observer.
He's
I've
got
seen
one
ones
that
with
can
Navy
shoot.
We
launchers.
use that to
Well,
our
my son's
advantage
got a
when
gun
we're
that can
doing
shoot around
investigations.
corners.
Carl's a little bit
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
than I
Holy
am.
crap.
He's a little bit more
Yeah.
He's black off on
introspective,
people.
And then
that's part of the reason why
my
we work
daughter
so well
has
as a
one
duo together.
that like
Because I'm
can
ready
shoot
to just
3 rounds
dive
at
in and talk
once.
to everybody and anybody, and
And
Carl
then
is the one who will sit back
My
sort of
son's
take a step
got
back.
one
I mean, I've
also
had
that
some
like
pretty cool ones before, but
they've got the large.
Yeah,
They've got a large
ready
ball
to go
that
to Kentucky.
is like the grenade launcher
We met
thing.
Carl.
They've got
Oh, yeah,
that
those are
too.
cool.
At the Stanley Hotel. We'd always kind of heard.
like I've
about it.
seen
I've
like
Seen a lot of
airsoft
his work.
guns that
We
fire
really liked some of the stuff
freaking
that he was
ping
working
pong
on.
balls.
We thought the
Yeah.
spirits in Stanley
My
was
buddy's got the
they
sniper
shot
rifle
really
that
well.
shoots the big
They were doing
huge
really
slug.
cool experiments.
Is it the red one?
Doing.
Yeah, the
So
red and
when
orange
Carl
one.
was like, hey,
Yeah, I got the red one. I wanted the little one, like the little rifle that shoots a regular dart. I got the big mega dart gun.
Carl was probably one of the only people.
But I have one of the old Nerf chain-fed machine guns.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that is sick.
Task
Yes,
force
we got
a joke.
we don't
at
have the
time. There were a lot of
chain-fed
people
ones,
who wanted
but
to
it's
be
a
on it
circle,
go
and you put your
investigate.
hand in
Oh,
the middle
yeah.
of the circle,
Carl showed interest in it.
and then you
I was
just
like,
Oh
okay,
damn!
pull the
alright.
trigger, and it winds up and starts shooting the
Let's do
bullets.
it. Connor.
They've actually
Yeah,
got like
so
repulsor blasters from
Connor
like
was kind of a
Iron
new
Man.
entity that had come into the mix.
Oh, I'm
And,
sure they do. Like, there's
we'd
that
known him
dude
a
that
little
made
bit
the
from
real
watching
life
Spirits and
repulsor
Stanley.
blasters
So we
and
kind of had
stuff.
a little bit of an idea.
We should
I
get
saw a
those.
link that I posted on FB that is like this guy comes up and rips off his shirt and he's showing off this guy in an Iron Man shirt, his pecs, and the mask just closes and he brings up his hands and the guy with muscles is cowering down. I'm like, yeah.
They are probably, and I can't tell if this is because they're
This
a
is
little
a
younger,
cat cleaning
but they're
itself. I
probably a
mean,
little
we
more
really
skeptical
needed
than
that.
Data and I are.
Hey, whoever's out there
You
watching
suddenly
us
get to
in
this weird point
whatever land,
when you're an investigator,
we're
you're
just
like,
here watching
let me
Hellier
have it,
episode
let's go. I
2.
want the weirdest thing you can throw at me. So sometimes
Yeah, I'm about
it's
to
good
flip
to
it
have
on.
people who have
Onto my TV.
a little bit of sharper
Use my telephone.
you go looking for something like that.
Use the
Yep. Pew, pew, pew. Weekend weird.
For a good 2 weeks, 3 weeks before we got in the car and went out to Kentucky, basically since around the time that this started to solidify, that Greg and I got on the phone and we put some dates down and we tried to schedule it, the synchronicities started to show up again.
I've been in a house like that.
In force, no less. And once again, they were all revolving around this case.
Not that exact
And
house, but
there
I mean
was
just
being
like one
foundations
that
for
looked like it.
synchronicities being set during that time that we wouldn't even recognize until later on in the expedition. It was like the case woke up again, where it had sit dormantly for about a year or two since the last kind of update that they had.
All right.
It seemed like as soon as we
You got
put
the
it on the
ginger beard
calendar,
man and
all
Miss
these
Sassy
people
Pants.
woke up to the case again. Greg
And
started
then
getting
you
emails.
Mr.
Yeah.
Sassy.
People were and adapting it for
Oh,
TV.
Mr.
He was
Sassy,
getting
who's
emails from
married
He's
to
members of the blog.
probably gonna come back and kick my rear now.
Like a week,
Oh, don't worry about it.
before.
Yeah, but still, it'd be kind of
Small
funny.
in stature.
Super
His
last
wife
minute
is
to
bigger
go
than
speak
me.
at CryptidCon, which they were already going to be at, but they were called up
Just saying.
last minute to give a second lecture about the Kentucky.
I heard something
case.
quite interesting
So, I mean,
today,
this is
but
a
I'll talk
case
to you guys
that
about that later.
Just seemed
You heard it
to
interesting.
instantly come back, flooding into
Yeah.
their lives again with all these
Okay.
little pieces coming up.
It was like
And these
one of the guys where I
synchronicities
live was telling me about this individual that is literally out of his mind, and that's all I'm gonna say
Stinks.
right now.
Okay. I heard tons of things about people like that.
Oh wow, it's a dice. What the hell?
That's a weird game. Okay.
Interesting.
Synchronicity takes the coincidence of events in space and time as meaning something more than mere chance.
Honestly think the thing about synchronicities for the most part is that they're meant to capture your attention for some reason. And I think that we try to look at what the synchronicity is and pick it apart and understand what exactly it means, when really for the most part I think it's kind of a surface thing to a certain extent. I personally find that when I'm experiencing a lot of synchronicities, it's usually during a really important time where either something in my life is changing or something around me is changing. So
Temple
I'm
Builders,
like
tips
hyper
and
aware of
tricks.
them, and I think that's what they're there for. I think it's to keep
Not
our
affiliated,
brain out of
but
kind of settling into
affiliated.
that mundane autopilot brain that like a majority of people are just sort of
We don't run
living
that
at
site.
all the time.
We're just members of
From
that
the
site.
start, I've compared this case series Mothman
That's where I go to shit post. Oh, I mean,
John Peel's
what?
massive research project for about
What?
2 years
Why?
in Pleasant, West Virginia, documenting
What?
all of the strange UFOs and cryptid stuff that were happening in that town for the time period of about 1967 to 1968. It's a story that I've always kind of held like close to me. Like, it's such a bizarre case that I think anyone who's fascinated by this high strangeness would read that book and say, like, where's my point? Like, where's my story that I can get lost in that weirdness and have these encounters one after another that just blow the mind. And so from the start with this Goblins case in Kentucky, I felt like this is kind of a Point Pleasant case. I downloaded it on audiobook to listen to for the drive out because I love having an audiobook to make a drive a little faster. And we really had no idea how much that was going to come into play later on throughout the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, pretty much like them roads I've been down. There they are. Them little gobbledygoos. Gobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobbledygobble know, right? That's before the eye filter things.
Yeah, I know. That brings me back to like when the cameras. Yeah.
Oh, we know. It's okay, Bit. We know.
Is it though? Is it?
It is.
Will I
It
ever be
is.
all
It's
right?
okay. No, but we'll be all right. You'll be okay. I mean, it's not like you'll be that kind of all right, but you'll be all right. You know. Don't ever try and like find a normalcy, because then you'll not be normal.
Normal's overrated.
I feel the same way about it. I think we can all be different in our own way.
One of the most bizarre encounters in this entire Mothman Prophecy story was the tale of Woodrow Derenberger, who was a local sewing machine salesman who was driving home from work one night. This UFO runs him off the highway, forces him to pull over, and this entity steps out of the craft.
As soon as I had stopped, there was a door opened in the side of this vehicle, and this man stepped out and came directly to me. And this man stood there, and he first asked me what I was called, and I knew him my name, and I told him my name. And he asked me, he said, why are you frightened? He said, don't be frightened, we wish you no harm. I told him my name, and when I told him my name, he said he was called Cold.
Now, this was the first of many encounters that Woodrow Derenberger had with this entity, Ingrid Cold. And it kind of became a characteristic story. It became one of those extremely odd encounters with these ultra-terrestrial figures where half of it sounds utterly absurd and ridiculous, but the other half is very grounded in UFO lore. It was a really odd detail and an extremely odd story. So as we're driving down to Hellier, we've got about a 4 or 5 hour drive. And for me, it's a great opportunity to flip through the hard copy file that Greg has on this entire strange case so far. All the emails, all the correspondences, all the book excerpts. I start flipping through, and one of the documents I start reading is the Terry Riss interview from the appendix of Alan Greenfield's Secret Cipher of the UFOnaut. In it, Terry Riss starts off talking about the cipher that the book's all about. This cipher is this weird coded cipher from Aleister Crowley, in fact, that some ultra-terrestrial channeled through him in the 1920s and 19teens in Cairo, Egypt. They didn't crack the cipher for like 60 years, all these occultists. It took them that long. So as I'm reading through, these words jump out at me.
And then suddenly, you can see this little light bulb go off above Carl's head, and he turns and he goes,
"There's ink and black. What the fuck?"
He says ink and black?
Yeah, it's in the bold right here. 112 equals ink and black. Greenfield's whole philosophy was that this code is how these ultra-terrestrials are communicating with other people through what we're doing. And then now we can intercept that code. And apparently, one of the hobbies that terrorists had taken up was applying this cipher to the Point Pleasant Mothman case. And so when he applies this cipher to Indrid Cold's name, he assumes that Indrid Cold is a code phrase. He applies the cipher to it. He gets this coded information out of it. And what he interprets is basically directions to Indrid Cold's location presently in, at that point, it must have been the mid to late 80s probably. He goes and walks up to this house and meets Indrid Cold, apparently. And Greenfield, commenting on this, says, was Indrid Cold a black guy? And Greenfield says, yeah, you know, he's commonly referred to as a blonde alien, but there's no race implications of a blonde alien. That's just a term. So, yeah, how do you guess that he was black? And Greenfield says, well, one of your code words that you distilled from Indrid Cold was ink and black, so I kind of took the next step. And Terry Riss says, very good.
Switch and save $652. It's okay.
Yeah,
There's
hey.
enough for everyone.
Hair loss looks different on everyone.
Yeah.
Whether it's a receding
We got no
hairline,
choice. We gotta listen to
balding
this one. We
spots,
gotta pay the
or
tax
thinning
man.
all over.
Crud.
Was his claim that they had been
Now we're
invited to
back.
take refuge on Earth by the Third Order. Humans and post-humans who are advanced enough to qualify as Earth's representatives in space-based governments. So that's what the Third Order is. They're humans and advanced human creature types who represent the Earth on like the space, astral, intergalactic, crazy alien, like real crazy shit. This is like a
You know what he just said?
theorist types, like all
Ooh, represent a lollipop, yeah. The lollipop, yeah.
So Riss is right. This was a stress beacon disguised
No.
as a contact. Stress beacon that failed. Greenfield says, so the whole mystery can be decoded in this way.
No lollipop guild. Only
So
the
narrowly
cookers.
detailed, but it says Hellier was just a symptom. The ink and the black are isolated still, and Third Order is MIA. He's saying Indrid Cold is still isolated, and that the Third Order still hasn't reached out to save Indrid Cold from the evil Greys and shit. Like, that's what that is. Bear in mind, the moment you read through all that, Terry Rist's second email makes all the sense in the world. This cryptic, obscure email suddenly is directly related to the Mothman prophecies. Indrid Cold. Right? So you go in here, they're talking about Woodrow Derenberger and the Mothman prophecy stuff. And they get to this point where there's some sort, like, he basically took the name Indrid Cold and he did like a big cipher on it. And this 112 number is like some sort of cipher code to like break his name somehow, all like occult stuff. And 112, he says, breaks down to "we are one," which is a code phrase that tells you you're in important territory, but it also breaks into thy white letter, words and signs, ink and black. Oh, House of God, the wheel. So ink and the black is referring to Indrid Cold, who's a black guy in this case. So when I come here in 2013, he says Indrid Cold is still isolated. Third Order is still MIA, hasn't talked to him, and use the numbers. So it's like, again, like I said, like this information was out there at this point. So like, again, someone could have just done like, I'm going to be Terry Riss. All right. Like, I mean, you can put together what he's kind of talking about.
But the only other weird part is he knows the name.
You're back.
I closed my browser.
Damn it. That's
I was all into that.
Oh, yeah.
It was a really, really weird fringe thing to have be part of that email. And in that moment, it suddenly became part of wider
fringe phenomena that have been occurring since the 50s, things that were investigated by some of the most famous heads of paranormal investigation. So John Keel was now intertwined in all of the stuff that we were looking into. Somebody knew what we were doing, they knew what we were looking into, and they clearly were giving us some kind of clue. There was something specific that they wanted us to investigate. And then once Carl noticed the references and it all made sense, it was really hard to think it was just somebody messing around. The drive into town is pretty desolate. The nearest city is like 30 minutes away. And going there's really not much. A lot of the times the road is really small, really windy, and there's a certain feeling of isolation. I mean, it's unmistakable. It's really not going to anywhere and not coming from anywhere.
First, you have to go in between all of these giant highway pillars that have just been left unconstructed and unfinished.
Hey.
You start to get the feeling that the town has really been, I don't want to say forgotten, but the highway was literally going to go right over the top of it. So there's no reason that anybody would go there.
So that's pretty curious too. Why would you have a town where you would purposely make it so nobody stopped there?
Well, it's kind of obvious. They don't want anybody there because there's something there. Or someone.
That's where aliens come from.
It's the place. There's really one central hub in Hellier that we found, and it's a little gas station. And the gas station doubles as a grocery store and a pizza place. It's really where everyone's at, and you kind of see people are coming and going all the time. The woman we were looking for. It was our primary contact lady that was most into it last time. Wasn't working tonight. So we're going to reach out to her over email and then phone and just kind of hang out in this spot, maybe see what we can stir up.
My first impressions of Hellier the first night when we showed up were a lot like our very first experience in Hellier. It was not a pleasant feeling. It's not a comfortable place to be. So for the most part, my first response to it was, again, similar to the first time we were there. I was uncomfortable. I very apprehensive about being there and hyper aware of myself being in this environment. And I think part of it also is that there's just a weird feeling to Hellier. It feels weird. You drive into it and it's an overwhelming, weird vibe. And I think that that's part of also what you're feeling when you're there, especially if you haven't lived there your whole life.
Pretty quickly, we can all feel some eyes on us. But we were on a mission. So we had to ask questions. And we did. Dove right into it.
Just kind of shooting it with the locals. And the guy said he was like, there's lots of weird stuff. Mostly Tom. He's just kind of making a joke about the people around here. What's up, man?
Pictures, right? Yeah.
So this is what we're here. Check it out. This is why we're in town. So there's one. There's a couple of the tracks. That one kind of give you an idea how big it is. Yep. And then he says, "This is one of the creatures." I don't know. I'm not a real outdoorsman or anything, but
I ain't never seen nothing.
Nothing like this? Never heard any stories about weird things in caves and mines?
Not really.
Nothing?
Nah.
You know anybody we could ask about it?
I don't think people who gets into stuff like that. I'm not knocking any of it. I'm just saying, I'm not saying nothing. I would love to.
Yeah.
I mean, really. I know we all would be.
Yeah. That's why we're here. Yeah.
That kind of was supposed to have been at? Do you know exactly?
This was supposed to happen here. Like hellier. Well, hellier down there.
Exactly sure.
If I could figure, that's what I'm trying to figure out. See, it's where I live.
Okay.
So, that's what I'm trying to figure. That's why I'm trying to look at the location.
Jude was only here for like 7 or 8 months.
7 or 8 months before you said that. Probably around here. That'd be a good idea.
This place.
Okay.
Just watch out, man.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Watch yourself.
Yeah.
That's that code right there. They just left him with that code at the end.
Yeah.
You heard that code. That's it. There's some people around here don't want you looking into this. Watch yourself.
Blue shirt keeps walking back and forth.
Curious. Hi, can I speak to Tammy? Hey, Tammy, my name's Greg Newkirk. I don't know if you remember me or not, but we met about a year and a half ago. Yeah, talking about weird prints. Yeah, how are you? I'm fantastic. I came and I brought some friends to town who were poking around, kind of looking into weirdness again. I was wondering if you'd heard anything new. Can you give me 1 second, Danny? Give me 1 second.
The cops showed up.
Oh, shit.
Uh-oh, we got them commercials we can't pass. So, yeah, he's an officer or sheriff or whatever.
Yeah, we'll be around for the next, 4 days. Oh, man, we would love to talk to him if he's in talking to us. Oh, that's exactly what we're looking for. Thank you so much. All right, we'll talk soon. We're half an hour? Now we got weird footprints to go check out. Got a guy doing some of the hills.
Things like that.
Of course, now, you want to trust everybody. God, it's obvious.
What did you say?
Mm-hmm. He's like, hey, come here. Just be careful who you trust.
Yeah.
Be careful who you trust. Somebody starts leading you off somewhere and say, something. Don't follow.
No.
Okay, you'll know. You can tell who's good and who's not. But again, nobody knows who did it. Yeah, nobody has any idea, never heard the name.
He was in and out pretty fast.
No, I ain't never seen nothing like that. We do research in these things. We've heard so many reports from this town. We just had to see what's going on.
She said y'all was your.
This guy's he was here about a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Did you find anything?
We were only here for the day. We only just came to kind of scope it out, to plan a trip to come back and actually spend more time. Several years
Well,
ago.
I'm gonna tell you something. I don't believe. I'm not saying they did. I don't believe man went to the moon.
Really?
Shit, no.
Why do you say that?
Like they had to go to the sun.
burn up.
Okay, how you know the moon ain't too cold? We don't know that.
That's true. Yeah. Huh.
I just some stuff I can believe, some stuff I just can't.
So you know,
I just don't think God can for nobody land on the moon. Because there's others supposed to be other planets closer than the moon.
Sure.
Well, how come they ain't went to them? But now for a doctor, I don't know. I don't know no doctors or anything.
Nobody who ever like
7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
From the sounds of it.
No, not from later.
Yeah. Anybody here ever just kind of get up and leave, and all their stuff's left there, and they just left and never come back?
I don't know nobody done that.
Yeah.
You say it was
David M. Christie. Dr. David M. Christie, supposedly.
I never heard of.
Yeah.
Hey.
No, nobody heard of him last time I was here.
No.
I think somebody was using a fake name.
I'd say you're probably right back.
I mean, we know that there's been UFO sightings a few years ago. Last time we were here, people were talking about Bigfoot and little creatures and ghosts and stuff like that.
Well, I'm not saying that you probably would find stuff that you don't know what it is in the hills around there. You know what I'm saying?
This is what he says, a picture of one of the creatures. We kind of figure looks a little like that.
Did you all travel everywhere?
Everywhere, looking for stuff like this. But
you ain't never found nothing.
Found lots of stuff.
Okay, now what would you do if you ran up on it?
We'd take better pictures.
I know what I'd be doing. I'd be moving on.
Well, that's what this guy did.
So the first night we talked with a few people in the parking lot, and it was kind of what I was expecting. We talked to someone who had a few stories about maybe weirdness, but nothing too specific. And then another guy who didn't really have any experiences there, but was very interested in us and what we were doing. And then, warning us about being safe in the area because it's not necessarily a super safe place. But I think that we left kind of a little bummed out, sort of, because it was like we were kind of getting details, but there wasn't really anything specifically. So we kind of left. I felt a little defeated, sort of, like we were, as if it chased us out a little bit. You know what I mean? Like I felt like it didn't, at that time, want us to be there because everything was against us. The sun was going down. People were kind of super suspicious of us. We were feeling wiped out from the drive, and then also kind of apprehensive about being there because, again, new location, sketchy people, sketchy environment. So it was if we kind of like showed up and like had a little experience that really didn't pan out to anything, and then kind of left with our tails between our legs a little bit. Had to go somewhere and regroup and think about how we were going to reapproach what we were doing there. As silly as it sounds, the one weird thing about that night was the fact that no one would give us anything weird. Like, that was strange in and of itself, considering the first time we were there, we had, in the same spot, no less, we had all of these people telling us all this stuff about UFOs flying above the town and ghosts and all sorts of things that I was surprised that, having been there for the same amount of time, that we kind of had a few interesting, maybe leads, sort of, but for the most part, people were like, no, not really, we don't really have any of that kind of stuff here. It seemed like a totally different town. Completely different than the first time.
Not so eager beaver to share.
They're ready to get them out of there.
Right? It was just like a whole bunch of signals.
Signal Prime coming online.
You were walking the high.
The moments that make you.
Oh, yeah.
My goodness. The memories that make you.
Valley Sports Plus. When you ready to stream the Timberwolves live, start watching today.
Yeah, we are watching the commercials, guys. Sorry. Catch up on those. If we watch a little more of them, they'll give us less of them.
While we were sitting around, Data thought it might be a cool idea to do a tarot spread, just to kind of give us an idea. We were sitting there planning the weekend and the rest of the expedition. Maybe it would help set an idea in our head about what to expect for the weekend.
We shuffle them.
Yeah, you go.
The thing I like about tarot, I don't know how to read tarot. I know some interpretations, but I don't ever really do it. Damon's pretty good at it. What I like is that it kind of forces you, regardless of whether you believe that there's any kind of real power in tarot, or it's just a fun diversion. It forces you to approach a situation differently. You have to. You see the cards. You have to sit there and think more deeply about the situation you're in. That was pretty obvious. There's also a fun saying in tarot, which is why when something pops out, you're supposed to use it. It's what falls to the floor comes to your door. There we go.
That's really weird. So
let's do one more.
These cards are just, again, mirroring a lot of what we were already talking about.
I think this one just jolted right over. So
which way?
This way.
Oh, wow. This is a really shitty reading.
Wow.
So often our friends described as
this is not what you want, brother.
It kind of sits somewhere between judgment and kind of the devil a little bit. It's a card of establishment. It can often represent the way things are supposed to be. Sometimes faded.
About duality.
Five of Cups is the second card, which is again a really sad card. It's a lot similar to some of the other cards that we pulled, where it's a guy who's, instead of realizing that he has two cups that are still full, he's focused on 3 cups that aren't full. And it's, again, same kind of situation here. And this is such a sad card because this person doesn't realize that they still have, because they're too focused on what they don't have anymore. And then the devil is the card of ego. It's the card of manipulation and division and misuse of power. And again, if we're talking about this area, it's probably something that happens a lot here. This card, I feel, probably resonates the most with me, in regards to the place that we're in.
And it's not us in some ways, right? Like, to apply it in terms of like are we the ego and like manipulating a situation that's just like sad and not like maybe that's like guilty conscience thinking for me.
But I don't know. I see that card and I think of somebody like terrorist. Because you see this big, powerful character that everyone has all these, thoughts and ideas about. With these people chained up right underneath of them.
So then if we look at it from that perspective, what we can see is information being given to us, and we're looking in the wrong direction. There's still information,
but we're looking at the
wrong thing. Because we're living in his world.
We're seeing 3 empty cups right now
instead of
the 2 full cups.
This you become the devil when you want to manipulate people, when you want things your way, when your ego becomes so big that it's it's your version of reality becomes everyone else's version of reality. And I mean, to a certain extent, that could apply, because making a documentary is about filtering reality in a certain way so that other people observing it see it your way, right? So yeah, we definitely could be the devil. But It's a lot more sinister, though. The thing is, it's the devil's. It's more about like arrogance and ego, and it comes from more of a malicious place rather than wanting to share information.
It's an uncomfortable reading for an uncomfortable place.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
There's something off here.
Yeah.
In this kind of a place that.
Yeah, I mean, that was a horrible combination to pull up. My interpretation of that combination is not a good interpretation.
All about perception.
Right, but with the notation they were given by the logos.
Right.
And the way, like, we watched in the last episode, right, that everybody reacted to them so positively, fed them good energy, and then they come back, and this time they're being fed nothing but negativity the whole time they're there. So the place itself is feeding them a level of negativity within some sort of energy sphere. They came in on the wrong end of a cycle or something. So,
yeah, that they did. I wonder what the moon was, what the celestial cycle was that day.
Right.
Probably a new moon. There wasn't none.
Either that or it was.
I'm gonna go full or no moon.
Yeah.
So after we sat down, we pulled out all of our material. We kind of decided what the best course of action would be for the first full day we would have in town, and that consisted of calling the local newspaper, seeing if they'd ever had any strange reports, calling the local police department, just calling anybody we thought might have some information. So what I did is I spent that night, I emailed the local news station, and then the next day we got to the street.
We got 5 minutes to check out. So like we
what do you mean?
Go to the restaurant.
Yeah, we've got 5 minutes. So.
Yeah. Okay. We can take some of your bags and stuff up here. Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
The reaction of the media agencies was incredibly unusual. One of the fun things about being a paranormal investigator is, unlike a lot of different professions, if you roll into town, you start asking questions, people want to give you answers. They're interested. Even if they're not completely sold that what you're doing is valid, they think the story's so interesting, they're more than willing to help. I've never really ran into many situations where people weren't just ready to bend over backwards to be part of a strange tale, you know, something to talk about at the bar. Hey, I met a paranormal investigator today and he's looking into this or this. This was totally different. The local police department didn't answer at all. Left numerous messages with different departments of the local police station.
Hello, my name is Greg Newkirk. I'm a paranormal investigator based out of Cincinnati, and I'm spending a few days here in the Pikeville area investigating a case I was put onto by a man from Hellier,
none of which were returned. Through the entire expedition, none of them were returned. Every single department line that we called was dead. Nobody answered. So it's impossible to get anybody at the police department.
Yeah.
Which is really weird. The local news station was completely disinterested.
Thank you so much. Can I give you my number in case it rattles anything loose at the office?
Local radio station, and they kind of blew it off and said, you know, it's September. We're working on a Halloween piece. You should really talk to them and put together a fluff piece.
If you hear anything or anybody knows anything, it'd be great to hear from you.
So there was zero interest and zero help.
That was like a very reoccurring weirdness, was a lack of weirdness, you know, in and of itself. That's strange. And so to have all of these people kind of blowing us off or not engaging with us on the subject matter was bizarre. And we found that morning it was frustrating because there was just tons of that. Like we were calling and no one was either answering, returning our calls, or, you know, wanting to talk to us about the paranormal. It's anything paranormal is happening in the area.
That would be fantastic. Thank you so much for your help. Take care. hockey's not his thing.
So as I was saying,
only 6 months old.
it's pretty strange that there's no cooperation. They're just getting fed negativity, right? Like,
yeah, that's what it looks like.
Super crazy.
Sounds like there's probably a mass displacement field of some kind.
His emails never said his address. He never explained where his house was with any sort of relation to any other landmark other than being slightly outside of the town of Hellier. There were some telltale signs about his property. He mentioned that there was an old mine entrance on the edge of his property, that he had a shed, that they had a back porch that had a back porch light, and that his house was far enough away from his neighbors that he could go days without seeing a single other living being other than his family.
So we did a lot of kind of boots on the ground where we were literally just driving the streets looking for anything that could potentially have looked like his house. Any house that looked like the one that we originally saw. And that was blowing up and down, mountain roads and talking to anybody who would potentially talk to us.
What Greg says, this the gas station was kind of the edge of Hellier proper. So rolling through here is probably it, and we'll be out of it in like 60 seconds. There's anything to speak of. It's not that bad. I mean, it's relatively quiet.
God, yeah, this would be, how would you ever know what the hell's happening out here? It's really
What's up?
That was Hellier.
Yeah.
There's a fort that we passed.
There's a couple places there that I'm trying to remember exactly which one it was that we went up to and saw the house. But there's a fort back there that Dana seemed to think might be it.
I feel like it is. I could be wrong, but it looked like there were a bunch of houses up that road.
So I think at this point it's just let's go and cruise up some roads and see what we see and stir up the locals too.
Yeah.
And then maybe after that, if we find it, obviously we can pull over. But if not, we can maybe reconvene back at the gas station again before we go.
Yeah.
Get to the B&B.
Perfect. I like it.
Cool.
Like it a lot.
He likes it. He likes it a lot.
Propane accessories.
I don't moved down here without some connection here. But if he was a doctor,
thank you.
maybe he had some
I'm
sort
not
of
gonna
family
say
connection.
what I want to say.
Oh, damn it, Hank.
If he was like sketched
Hank,
out
I thought I told you to stop using all my propane and propane accessories.
And then no one ever really knew it, and he was only here for 7 months or 8 months. And then he bounces out, no one ever knew him to remember it. It's possible. It doesn't seem unfeasible.
Terrible.
Don't do it, Hank. Don't do it.
So our first time in Hellier, we found a house that seemed to fit David's description. I mean, at the time, it had the right feel to it, but, who knows? That was 2 years ago, and we couldn't remember exactly where it was. The area is covered with mountain roads, and they go for miles, and some of them have dirt. You don't know exactly where you're going to end up.
They lost the house.
So right away, we started to realize it was going to be
How the
really
hell do you
tricky
lose a
trying to
house?
find that house again, if it was even David's house to begin with. It wasn't until later that we realized we actually had footage of this house. But while we were there, we were going by memory, so we had no idea how to actually get there.
We realized the camera hadn't been recording properly, so we had to go back in. Fucking hell.
Some of these bombed out houses out here, like places that just obviously were like bigger, nicer places. Just gone. No, this ain't it.
It was like this.
The problem with looking for David's house is there were a ton of houses that could have fit the bill. A lot of them were currently lived in, but nearly everybody had a shed in the back of the house. Some of the houses that looked lived in looked abandoned. And one of the biggest issues we were running into was almost everybody had a mine on the edge of their property. The entire mountains were full of them. In fact, a lot of the roads that these people lived on were old mining roads that people had settled on because they worked the mine at the end of the road, and that's just where they stayed. So all of these places could have been David's place. So after that point, we decided to start asking around. Does anyone know this guy? Does anyone know David?
Creepy.
How you doing? All right, you? Pretty good. I was wondering if you guys might be able to help us out a little bit. We're in town. We're paranormal investigators, and we were called to town because there was a guy from around Hellier who said that he was finding strange footprints, and they were coming out of an old cave or a mine shaft or something on the edge of his property.
What's his name?
His name was David Christie.
David Christie.
Yeah. No one around here does. But he sent all these photographs of these strange things.
You got property you can show us?
Out of his property.
Did he have an address?
He didn't give us an address. We didn't get that far. I exchanged a whole bunch of emails with him, and then one day he just kind of up and left, and then all kinds of other weird stuff.
Yeah, he just sent us pictures of like what looked like three-toed footprints in a creek bed, sort of.
And old abandoned mine on his edge of
Yeah, he
his
said it
property?
was like a mine or a cave or something like that. Some kind of entrance. And I know this place is just filled with that type of stuff.
Yeah. There's all kinds of mining. Yeah.
I
never heard of a Christie.
Yeah, no one knows him. I don't think that's his real name. He said he was a doctor. That was one thing. He said he was a doctor, and he was new to the area. As far as I know, he was only here about 7 months before he left.
I never heard of it.
You guys ever hear any stories, any weird stories coming out of the mountains? Any stories of little creatures or weird lights or anything like that?
No, there's a lot of weird stuff goes on here. The only thing I've ever, as far as like what you're talking about, is we used to go down through here. You get down here, a big long straight piece down there.
Yeah.
Where it's got that, it's got that little switch back like that, and it comes back into it right
Yeah.
through there. They used to say that they was, you could hear every night now, there's a little cave or something where that you always hear like a baby crying or something over there.
Really?
Yeah.
Coming from a cave?
Coming from, a little bit
Like
here,
an
not that,
overground?
not a little big cave, a little small place.
Huh.
It was wild.
Wow, that's cool. And there are noises that come out of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing prior I can watch here. Oh, well, I mean, as far as a doctor living around here, if he would have had lived down there around the Mountain Holler in one of them places down there, because I don't know no Christian now. I never heard of him.
Yeah.
They didn't give you anything?
The two gentlemen we were talking to were extremely helpful. It was the common theme. These guys, you come at these guys with a strange story, and they kind of look at the stuff and go, wow, it's weird. Well, how can we help? The one piece of information they gave us, which ended up being something that hinged a lot on whether we believe that this case had any truth to it at all, was the fact that the footprints looked like they were made in slurry. That's a really interesting detail because slurry only comes out of abandoned mines that have blown out. So these guys were old coal miners. They knew what this stuff looked like. They worked around this stuff. They had this stuff on their properties. And they said the way that slurry happens is when an old mine that has been blocked off and boarded up is flooded. That's how they keep people from going out of it, how they keep all the crap from flowing out. But eventually, after years and years and years, this stuff, the water actually pushes so hard on that blockage that one day it's going to blow out, and all of the old coal is going to mix with the mud, and it's going to wash out and almost kind of look like a muddy black beach. These guys said this looks like coal slurry, so it's probably from somewhere around here. You just have to find a bed that's about as wide as this.
Wide, yeah. Everything here, about we used to go about, I mean, not that much space, but it's drawn out there. But yeah, that's where it's going. Yeah.
Anything like that around the area you think of?
There could be all kinds of little hollers and everything.
Little hollers. He said it. I heard him. He said it. He said little hollers.
Something like that around.
Little hollers. Oh, crud.
You know, talk about little hollers. Yeah, I'll be a holler boy.
It's like a common, thing that often happens to the environmental.
So they finally got a little bit of help, huh?
Yeah.
Trying to get you to go into a certain place, knowing how to play on it.
It's funny, you can see the generational as they drive by places and businesses and stuff. It's crazy. Man, that ain't even a building.
There's a lot of threads to follow from that guy.
Jenkins, Kentucky, 18 miles from Hellier. When the devil rode in, everybody shut their doors.
We decided to stay in a town nearby called Jenkins. It was about 20, 30 minutes away from Hellier. And it was a cabin. It was a cabin where we could all stay with a crew of 5 people. So it was a place where everyone could stay comfortably, and it had a nice living room where we could kind of sit down and at the end of the night reconvene.
Don't feed the bears.
So we stayed at this cabin, really cool place, nice and secluded.
Or you lose your
no
nut
cell phone
hairs.
signal up there for most of us. No internet.
More than that, more than likely.
Good place to have a little peace and quiet and kind of refuge from some of the craziness that we were investigating. First night we were there, we figured, well, we know that there's caves and mines all over the mountain that we're staying on. People have a million stories about this stuff, and we're in the same area. We're staying in a lot of the same mountains. This is a phenomena that appeared at the time to be spread out around the place. People we would talk to outside of town had a ton of crazy stories.
If these goblins that we're looking for or other beings are here in this community, you would expect that they would know that we're here. And so why not go out and investigate it right at the place we were staying in? We were in town. We were in the area. And the woods were right there. So let's go see. So many different things. Talking about potential.
Oh, they're on the nighttime poodle walk.
Goblins. It's all right in this area. And we're the only people we can say with near certainty tonight listening. And we're at the place that called out to you. Those emails went to you for a reason. Maybe that's this trip. Maybe that's to find out what's going on in this place. Because there's something.
Maybe it's more than goblins. Maybe the goblins were just the key to getting people here.
It's just weird enough to get you here.
Yeah.
How many ghost stories do you hear?
Oh, tons, exactly.
And
that's
maybe,
exactly it.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know what that's like. You hear them all the time. So maybe that's the idea. Maybe there is something stranger than goblins here. Or more important than goblins here.
Uh-huh.
And so we have the 4 of us that are there, and we're extremely focused on getting some content with whatever was there. And I expected it to get pretty weird, but not quite as weird as it was.
All right. That's the end of the episode.
Meanwhile, at the Huff.
At the Huff.
Yep. the Huff. Yeah.
All right, we're back.
Oh, I sees me.
And so
that was definitely intriguing.
That was the end of episode 2 there. So each one of these episodes is about an hour long, which is nice. So we got 5 more to get through. We'll be able to buzz through them easily here in the next coming weeks and stuff. And yeah,
I think it's a good break from what we do on the norm, and it's somewhat educational. I mean, it opens our eyes, it expands our horizon to what could be out there. I mean, dude, we've barely scratched the surface on some things. Yeah, I know we have the James Webb Telescope.
Definitely.
We can see way out in space. We've got amazing electron microscopes, but there are some things that are just unexplained.
Yep. So
that is true.
So yeah, this is going to be an ongoing thing. Well, we won't be continuing this show on the Kit Bash Gundam page. We will do it on all our other pages.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just out of the commonality of keeping it, content related and stuff over there at Kit Bash. So, but that is okay, and we shall continue. Anyways, it's a great show. I had fun,
as always,
and we will see you guys next time for a late night with Web C and the Model Rocketeer.